Was a long day, I know how you feel. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let the world outside start to fade away. Welcome back to the Mental Lullaby. Tonight, we aren't just looking for rest, we're giving your mind the permission it needs to let go. Using gentle psychological techniques and calming soundscapes will guide your nervous systems from the noise of the day into the quiet of the night. You have done enough for today. Now, it's time to simply be. Let's begin our journey into sleep.
Solaire of Astora, the knight who never found his son. Before we begin this journey through one of gaming's most tragic and beloved stories, if you find comfort in these explorations of lore and narrative, consider subscribing to the channel. There's something uniquely soothing about diving deep into these dark worlds, finding the humanity within them, and your support helps keep these explorations going. Now, let's talk about a knight who brought light to the darkest game ever made, the beacon in the darkness. In the grim, unforgiving world of Dark Souls, where death lurks around every corner and despair seeps from every stone wall, there exists a figure so incongruous, so utterly at odds with his surroundings, that he became not just memorable, but iconic. Solaire of Astora stands as perhaps the most beloved character in the entire Souls series, and understanding why requires us to understand what makes him so different, so special, so tragically beautiful in a world designed to crush hope beneath its heel. When you first encounter Solaire, you've just survived the Taurus demon, a hulking beast that has likely killed you several times. You exit the tower where this battle took place, and the natural instinct is to turn right and run across the bridge toward Undead Parish, where the Hellkite dragon waits to incinerate anyone foolish enough to cross its domain. But if you turn left instead, if you take that less obvious path, you'll find him there, standing on a balcony, gazing up at the sun with an intensity that borders on worship. He's immediately distinguishable from every other character you've met so far. His armor bears a hand-painted sun emblem across the chest, bright and bold in a world of rust and decay. Green pauldrons protect his shoulders, and a distinctive red feather adorns his helmet. But it's not his appearance that makes the first impression, it's his demeanor. In a game where most NPCs you encounter are either hollow, dying, or descended into madness, Solaire greets you with warmth, with enthusiasm, with what can only be described as genuine joy. Ah, hello there. I will stay behind to gaze at the sun. He tells you, and there's something almost childlike in his wonder. The sun is a wondrous body, like a magnificent father. If only I could be so grossly incandescent. That line, that single phrase about being grossly incandescent, has echoed through gaming culture for over a decade. It's been memed, quoted, referenced, and celebrated countless times. But beyond its quotability lies something deeper, something that speaks to the core of who Solaire is and what he represents. Here is a man, or rather an undead, who looks at the sun and sees not just light, but meaning, purpose, even divinity. He speaks of it as a father figure, something to aspire to, something worth pursuing even unto death and beyond. The cheerful demeanor, the unwavering optimism, the sincere desire to help others, all of this makes Solaire an anomaly in Lordran. Dark Souls is designed to be lonely, oppressive, and cruel. It's a world where trust is often repaid with betrayal, where kindness is rare, and where most who journey through it end up hollow shells of their former selves. Yet here stands Solaire, defying every expectation the game has set up, offering you cooperation instead of competition, friendship instead of enmity, hope instead of despair. The philosophy of a sun worshipper. Before we delve deeper into Solaire's journey, we need to understand the philosophical underpinnings of his character, because Solaire is, at his core, a philosopher-warrior. His musings about the sun aren't just idle chatter or flavor text. They represent a coherent worldview, a way of understanding existence that stands in stark contrast to the nihilism and despair that permeates so much of Lordran. When Solaire speaks of the sun as a magnificent father, he's articulating a relationship that goes beyond simple worship. In many cultures and mythologies, the sun represents not just a celestial body but a source of life, warmth, order, and meaning. The sun rises each day without fail, providing structure and reliability in an otherwise chaotic universe. It gives without asking for anything in return, shining its light on the just and unjust alike. This is the kind of being Solaire aspires to become. Not selfish, not conditional in his help, not demanding tribute or recognition. He wants to be a source of unconditional support and illumination for others, just as the sun illuminates the world without discrimination. When he talks about finding his own sun, this suggests he's expressing a desire for purpose, for significance, for his own source of inner light that can sustain him through the darkness of the world. The phrase grossly incandescent is particularly telling. The word gross in this context doesn't mean disgusting or offensive. It means total, complete, overwhelming. Solaire wants to be so thoroughly radiant, so completely filled with light, that it becomes his defining characteristic, his essential nature. He doesn't want to just have light. He wants to be light itself, to have incandescence woven into the very fabric of his being. But there's a vulnerability in this aspiration too. When Solaire admits that others might see him as a laughing stock, as a blind fool without reason, he's acknowledging a truth that anyone who pursues lofty ideals must confront. The world doesn't always reward nobility. Sometimes it mocks it, dismisses it, treats sincere aspiration as foolish delusion. Solaire knows this, accepts this, and pursues his quest anyway, which makes his optimism all the more remarkable. The fact that Solaire chose to become undead specifically to pursue this quest adds another layer of depth to his character. In Dark Souls, the undead curse is a brand, a mark of the dark sign that appears on humans seemingly at random. It's an affliction that slowly erodes humanity, turning people into mindless hollows over time. Most undead didn't choose this fate. It was thrust upon them, a cosmic injustice that they must navigate as best they can. But Solaire looked at this curse, understood its implications, and willingly accepted it because his quest was more important than his humanity. Think about what that means. He valued finding his son more than he valued remaining human, more than he valued avoiding the slow deterioration that claims every undead eventually. That's not optimism. That's fanatical devotion to a cause, a willingness to sacrifice everything for an ideal. The gift of cooperation that first meeting does more than establish Solaire's character. It fundamentally changes how you can interact with the world of Dark Souls. After sharing his philosophical musings about the sun and introducing himself as an adherent to the Lord of Sunlight, Solaire presents you with an item that becomes essential to the multiplayer experience, the White Sign Soapstone. Use this to summon one another as spirits, cross the gaps between the worlds, and engage in jolly cooperation. He explains, and that phrase, jolly cooperation, has become as iconic as the praise the sun gesture itself. It's such a simple concept, yet it represents everything Solaire embodies. In a world designed to be faced alone, where isolation is both theme and mechanic, Solaire offers connection. The White Sign Soapstone allows players to write summon signs on the ground, beckoning others from different worlds to join in cooperative play. It's a mechanic that seems almost revolutionary in the context of Dark Souls' brutal design philosophy. The game wants you to struggle, to fail, to overcome through persistence and skill. Yet here's Solaire, essentially saying that you don't have to face these challenges alone. That seeking help isn't weakness, that cooperation can be joyful. And Solaire doesn't just give you this tool and disappear. Throughout your journey, you'll find his golden summon sign before various boss fights, offering his assistance not as a transaction, but as genuine camaraderie. His summon sign glows gold rather than white, marking him as a member of the Warriors of Sunlight Covenant. And when summoned, he appears as a golden phantom, radiant and warm in a way that seems to defy the very nature of the world around him. The voice acting for Solaire, provided by Daniel Flynn, deserves particular recognition. Flynn imbues the character with a warmth and sincerity that could easily have come across as foolish or naive, but instead registers as genuine, even noble. There's a musical quality to how Solaire speaks, a rhythm and cadence that makes even his most philosophical statements feel natural rather than forced. When he laughs, which he does often in those early encounters, it's not the hollow cackle of someone losing their grip on sanity. It's real laughter, the sound of someone who still finds joy despite everything the world has thrown at them. His dialogue is peppered with moments of profound observation delivered with casual ease. "We are amidst strange beings, in a strange land," he muses. The flow of time itself is convoluted, with heroes centuries old phasing in and out. The very fabric wavers, and relations shift and obscure. He's explaining the multiplayer mechanics, the lore reason why players from different times and worlds can interact, but he's doing it in a way that feels organic, like he's sharing observations about the nature of reality itself rather than delivering exposition. This understanding of Lordran's temporal instability reveals another dimension of Solaire's tragedy. He's searching for his son in a world where time itself is breaking down, where the normal progression of past to present to future has dissolved into chaos. If heroes from different eras can phase in and out, if all moments exist simultaneously, then his quest becomes exponentially harder. How do you find something when the very fabric of reality refuses to hold still? A knight from Astora understanding Solaire requires understanding where he came from, both literally and philosophically. He hails from Astora, a land that exists largely in the background of Dark Souls lore, but carries significant thematic weight. Astora is described as a land of nobles and knights, a refined culture with sophisticated society. It's a place that produced not just Solaire, but other notable characters like Oscar, the knight who frees you from the undead asylum, and later in the series, Henry of Astora. What's particularly significant about Astora is its relationship with the culture and mythology of Aner Londo and the gods. Astora is heavily influenced by the ideals of Gwyn and his Age of Fire. The country is subservient to the concept of the chosen undead, the prophecy that an undead will make pilgrimage to Lordran and link the fading flame. This isn't just background lore. It's central to understanding why characters like Oscar and Solaire journey to this cursed land in the first place. But Solaire's story has a crucial distinction that sets him apart from others who came to Lordran. He didn't become undead through the curse, through the brand of the dark sign that afflicts humanity. He deliberately chose to become undead. This is stated explicitly in the game. Solaire of Astora is an exceptionally skilled warrior who deliberately became undead to journey to Lordran in search of a son of his own. Think about what that means. In the world of Dark Souls, the undead curse is an affliction, a mark of damnation. The undead are branded, exiled to asylums, and when they inevitably go hollow, they become mindless husks. The entire journey the player undertakes is essentially a search for purpose, for meaning, for some way to either cure or transcend this curse. Yet Solaire chose this fate willingly. He looked at the curse, understood its implications, and embraced it anyway because his quest, his search for his own son, was more important than the risks involved. This choice reveals something profound about Solaire's character. He's not just optimistic. He's driven by a purpose so intense, so all-consuming, that he was willing to sacrifice his very humanity to pursue it. That takes a level of conviction, of faith, that borders on the fanatical. But Solaire never presents as a fanatic. He's warm, friendly, self-deprecating even. When you encounter him and he shares his dream of finding his own son, he acknowledges how others might perceive him. But when I peer at the sun up above, it occurs to me, he confesses at one point, what if I am seen as a laughing stock, as a blind fool without reason? Well, I suppose they wouldn't be far off. Ha ha ha. There's a self-awareness in that laugh, an understanding that his quest might seem absurd to others, but he pursues it anyway. He knows the world is harsh and mocking, that his idealism might be seen as delusion, but he refuses to let that cynicism infect him. The painted sun, there's a detail about Solaire that bears closer examination, one that reveals layers of meaning often overlooked. The sun emblazoned on his armor and shield, that iconic symbol that's become synonymous with Dark Souls itself, wasn't granted to him by divine powers or inherited from some ancient lineage. Solaire painted it himself. The item descriptions for his equipment are explicit about this. The large holy symbol of the sun, while powerless, was painted by Solaire himself. Reads the description for his armor. The shield tells us the same. Decorated with a holy symbol, but Solaire illustrated it himself, and it has no divine powers of its own. Think about what this means. Solaire looked at blank armor and a plain shield and said, these need to represent what I believe in, what I'm searching for, what I hope to become. And then he took pigments and brush, or perhaps cruder tools, and painted these suns himself. They're not perfect. They're not the work of a master artist. But they're sincere, honest, deeply personal expressions of faith and aspiration. The fact that these symbols are powerless makes them more meaningful, not less. In a world where blessed weapons carry divine might, where sacred artifacts channel the power of the gods, where enchantments and miracles reshape reality, Solaire's painted suns do nothing. They grant no protection beyond the armor's natural defense. They channel no holy energy. They're just paint on metal, crude representations of celestial glory. But perhaps that's exactly the point. Solaire doesn't need his symbols to have power because the power comes from within him, from his conviction, from his refusal to let the absence of divine blessing diminish his faith. The painted suns are reminders, totems, manifestations of internal commitment rather than external power. His equipment tells us even more about his character. The armor he wears is described in item descriptions as having no special properties whatsoever. The item description for his armor explicitly states, Solaire's incredible prowess must have come from rigorous training alone, for his equipment exhibits no special traits. This is crucial to understanding Solaire. In a world where power often comes from ancient souls, from magical artifacts, from divine gifts or dark pacts, Solaire's strength is entirely self-made. He's not a chosen one, not blessed by the gods despite his devotion to the sun. He's a skilled warrior because he trained, because he worked, because he pushed himself to excellence through dedication and effort. The sunlight straight sword he wields carries interesting contradictions in its description. While it's said to contain the very power of the sun, the item description also notes it's well-forged and kept in good repair, but unlikely to live up to its grandiose name. It's a standard long sword elevated by Solaire's dedication rather than inherent magic. The impossible quest, so what exactly is Solaire searching for when he speaks of finding his own son? This question lies at the heart of his character and his tragedy. On the surface, it seems almost literal. He stares at the sun, worships it, compares it to a magnificent father, and seeks to become as grossly incandescent as that celestial body. But Dark Souls rarely operates on purely literal levels. The sun in Dark Souls is intrinsically linked to Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, the god who sacrificed himself to link the first flame and prolong the Age of Fire. Gwyn wielded the power of lightning, which is essentially weaponized sunlight in this universe. His firstborn, later strongly suggested to be the nameless king in Dark Souls 3, inherited this power and became known as the god of war. The sun represents not just light, but divine power, authority, purpose, and meaning in a world increasingly falling to darkness. But there's a specific element to his quest that makes it particularly poignant. Solaire isn't searching for the sun, he's searching for his own sun. He doesn't want to simply bask in the reflected glory of Gwyn or the gods. He wants something personal, something that belongs to him specifically, something that makes him special and significant in his own right. This is the quest of someone seeking identity, seeking to prove their worth, seeking to become something more than just another undead warrior in a world full of them. Throughout your journey with Solaire, you encounter him at various locations, and each meeting reveals more about his state of mind and his ongoing search. After you ring both bells of awakening and make your way to Aenorlando, you can find him by a bonfire inside the castle. This is after you've faced the infamous Silver Knight archers on the ledges, after you've seen firsthand how cruel and unforgiving this world can be. And there's Solaire, still hopeful, still searching. The way I see it, our fates appear to be intertwined, he tells you. In a land brimming with hollows, could that really be mere chance? I hardly think so. He sees meaning in your continued encounters, significance in the fact that both of you continue to push forward when so many others have given up and gone hollow. There's something touching about his need to find pattern and purpose in what might be mere coincidence, something very human in his desire to believe that the connections he makes matter. If you summon Solaire to help fight Ornstein and Smuff, one of the game's most difficult boss encounters, and if he survives the battle, you're rewarded with the Sunlight Medal. These medals are the currency of the Warriors of Sunlight Covenant, tangible proof of cooperation and victory. But more than that, they represent what Solaire values: helping others, achieving victory through teamwork, being a source of strength and support. Each medal is described as faintly warm, as if holding a small piece of that sun Solaire seeks. This warmth is not metaphorical. The medals actually carry heat, a physical manifestation of the cooperative spirit that earned them. When you hold one, you're holding proof that you helped someone, that you stood beside another undead and together achieved victory. For Solaire, these medals might be the closest thing to his sun that actually exists in Lordran. Tangible, warm proof of light brought into others' lives through cooperation. After the battle with Ornstein and Smuff, Solaire moves to the Sunlight Altar in Undead Parish. This is where things start to become more complex, more layered with meaning and melancholy. The Sunlight Altar is a broken statue, its body long since crumbled away, leaving only the feet and a portion of the spear it once held. This statue once depicted Gwyn's firstborn son, the god of war, the founder of the Warriors of Sunlight Covenant. But when the firstborn betrayed Gwyn by siding with the ancient dragons, Gwyn ordered all statues and records of his son destroyed, his very name stricken from history. Solaire stands before this ruined monument to a forgotten god, and if you speak with him here, his dialogue takes on a different tone. He's starting to doubt, starting to feel the weight of his fruitless search. I did not find my own son, not in Aenorlando, he admits. The city of the gods, the seat of power, the place where sunlight should surely be found, and yet it yielded nothing for him. His quest continues, but the optimism is beginning to show cracks. This is also where Solaire offers you the chance to join the Warriors of Sunlight Covenant if you meet the requirements. The Covenant requires significant faith investment, a mechanical representation of the dedication needed to follow this path of cooperation and sunlight. When you join, you receive the Lightning Spear miracle, the ability to hurl bolts of lightning, weaponized sunlight at your enemies. These miracles are the legacy of Gwyn's firstborn, passed down through the covenant he founded before his exile. There's a tragic irony in Solaire's relationship with this covenant. He worships the sun, serves at this altar, follows the teachings of a god who was cast out, forgotten, whose very name was erased from history. The statue is broken, the god is gone, but Solaire maintains his faith. He stands before the ruins of someone else's legacy and continues to believe that somewhere, somehow, he'll find his own sun, his own source of meaning and purpose. The Covenant itself provides structure and meaning through its mechanics. Each successful cooperation earns a sunlight medal. Accumulate enough medals and you can trade them for increasingly powerful miracles. 10 medals for Great Lightning Spear, 30 for Sunlight Spear. This progression system transforms abstract ideals of cooperation into concrete rewards, giving tangible shape to Solaire's philosophy. But perhaps the most important thing the Covenant offers is purpose itself. As long as Solaire can help others, as long as there are bosses to fight and phantoms to summon, he has a reason to continue. The quest for his son may be impossible, but the act of cooperation is always available, always achievable. Every time his summon sign appears and someone calls upon him, every time he helps another undead overcome a challenge, he's living his values even if he's not achieving his ultimate goal. The descent begins as you progress deeper into the game. Heading into the Demon Ruins and Lost Izalith, Solaire's journey takes a darker turn. After you defeat the Centipede Demon and continue into Lost Izalith, you can encounter Solaire at the bonfire. His dialogue here marks a significant shift in his character arc, a movement from optimism tinged with doubt to something approaching genuine despair. Still no signs of any sun, he says, and the weariness in those words is palpable. Lost Izalith or the Tomb of the Giants, where else might my son be? But I cannot give up. I became undead to pursue this. But when I peer at the sun up above, it occurs to me, what if I am seen as a laughing stock, as a blind fool without reason? This is Solaire at his most vulnerable, most human. The cheerful warrior who greeted you with enthusiasm after the Taurus demon has been worn down by the endless searching, the constant disappointment, the growing realization that his quest might be impossible. He's questioning himself now, wondering if his entire purpose, the thing he became undead to pursue, might be nothing more than foolish delusion. But even in this moment of doubt, he tries to maintain his spirit. Well, I suppose they wouldn't be far off. Ha ha ha. That laugh, that same laugh from earlier in the game, but now it sounds forced, a little hollow, a desperate attempt to hold on to the optimism that once came so naturally. This progression from hope to doubt to near despair is one of the most expertly crafted character arcs in the game. Dark Souls doesn't beat you over the head with it. There are no cutscenes showing Solaire's mental state deteriorating. No dramatic confrontations where he breaks down. Instead, it's conveyed through dialogue, through location, through the increasing spaces between your encounters and the growing weight in his words when you do meet. What makes this so effective is that Solaire isn't going hollow in the traditional sense. He's not losing his mind to the undead curse, not becoming a mindless monster. Instead, he's experiencing something far more relatable, far more human. He's experiencing the slow death of a dream, the gradual realization that the thing you've dedicated everything to might be impossible to achieve. The sunlight maggot deep in Lost Izalith, in the ruins of the Witch of Izalith's domain, there lurks a particular type of enemy called chaos bugs. These are strange, parasitic creatures that scuttle about in the darkness. Most of them are harmless, barely worth noticing as you navigate the treacherous lava flows. But among these creatures, there is one that's different, one that will seal Solaire's fate if you don't intervene. This particular chaos bug, distinguishable by its red eyes and the fact that it doesn't respawn once killed, carries within it a parasite known as the sunlight maggot. When worn on the head, this parasite emanates a bright, constant light, providing illumination in the darkest areas of the game. In practical terms, it's one of 3 light sources available to the player, useful for navigating areas like the Tomb of the Giants. But the Sunlight Maggot is far more than just a utility item. Its description is chilling in its simplicity. A loathsome parasite that inhabits Lost Izalith. It is completely immobile, yet still lives. When worn on the head, it emanates blinding light, which is why it is known as a sunlight maggot. Immobile yet alive. A thing that produces light but cannot move, cannot grow, can only exist in its parasitic state, feeding off its host while creating the illusion of radiance. If you progress through Lost Izalith without taking specific actions to prevent it, Solaire will encounter this sunlight maggot before you do. And when he sees it, glowing with its false light, he believes he's finally found what he's been searching for. He believes he's found his son. The encounter happens near the shortcut door that connects the demon ruins to Lost Izalith, a path that can only be opened by reaching rank 2 in the Chaos Servant Covenant, which requires offering 30 humanity to Quellag's sister. If you haven't opened this shortcut, if you haven't killed the red-eyed chaos bug that carries the sunlight maggot, then when you progress through this area, you'll find Solaire in a state that defies everything you've come to know about his character. He's hostile now, attacking on sight. The sunlight maggot has burrowed into his head, its legs wrapped around his skull, its body pulsing with that false light. And Solaire, dear, friendly, helpful Solaire, has been driven mad by this parasitic delusion. He's found his son, or so he believes, and it's consuming him from within, turning him into a hollow mockery of the knight he once was. If you speak to him in this state, before combat begins, his words are heartbreaking. Finally, I have found it, I have. His voice carries a manic edge now, a desperate, fevered quality. My very own son. I am the son. I've done it. I have. There's triumph in those words, but it's the triumph of madness, of someone who's so broken by their quest that they'll accept any counterfeit as the genuine article. I've done it. I am the son. I've done it. He repeats like a mantra, like someone trying to convince themselves of something they don't quite believe. And then, perhaps the most devastating line, finally, I have found it, I have. My very own son. The sunlight maggot hasn't given Solaire what he sought. It hasn't made him incandescent, hasn't given him purpose or meaning or significance. It's simply driven him insane with false promise, with the illusion of achievement while actually destroying everything that made him who he was. The thing he wanted more than anything has become the instrument of his destruction, and he can't even recognize the cruel irony of it. The game forces you into a terrible position here. This character who has helped you, who has been nothing but kind and supportive, who represented the best of what Lordran's inhabitants could be, now attacks you with murderous intent. And your only option, if you want to progress, is to fight back. You have to kill Solaire, this friend who crossed the gaps between worlds to engage in jolly cooperation with you, who stood beside you against impossible odds. When you defeat him, when you cut him down, he drops his equipment. The armor with its hand-painted sun, the shield with its crude but earnest emblem, the straight sword he wielded with such skill, the sunlight maggot still pulsing with its horrible light. All of it falls to the ground, and Solaire falls with it, another undead claimed by Lordran's inexorable cruelty. This is presented as the natural progression of Solaire's story, the general norm, as director Hidetaka Miyazaki described it. It's the bad ending, the tragic conclusion to a tragic character arc. But Dark Souls, in keeping with its complex design philosophy, also provides a way to prevent this outcome, though doing so requires foreknowledge, planning, and significant resource investment. The path to salvation saving Solaire is one of the most involved and obscure side quests in Dark Souls. It requires you to understand not just what will happen to him, but how to prevent it, and the game provides almost no guidance on this front. Players had to figure this out through experimentation, through sharing information, through the kind of community cooperation that Solaire himself would have appreciated. The key lies in that shortcut door between Demon Ruins and Lost Izalith. To open it, you must first find the fair lady, Quelag's sister, behind an illusory wall near the boss arena where you fought Quelag. She's the leader of the Chaos Servant Covenant, a blind, mutated being who mistakes you for one of her sister's servants and weakly asks if you've brought her food. The fair lady speaks in a language you can't understand unless you possess the old witch's ring, one of the starting gift options, or something you can trade for later. But you don't need to understand her to join her covenant. By doing so and offering her 30 humanity, you can reach rank 2, which opens the shortcut door. "30 humanity is a significant investment, requiring either extensive grinding of rats in the depths or exploration to find the precious scattered throughout the game world. Once the door is open, you can access the passage before Solaire ever reaches it. Inside, you'll find 9 chaos bugs scuttling about. 8 of them are normal, but one, distinguishable by its red eyes and larger soul drop when killed, is the carrier of the sunlight maggot. Kill this bug, destroy the parasite before Solaire ever encounters it, and you've changed his fate. There are alternative methods too. You can use the poison mist or toxic mist pyromancies to kill the bug through the closed door, provided you position yourself correctly. The Dragon Greatsword special attack can also reach through walls and hit enemies on the other side. These methods allow you to save Solaire without the 30 humanity investment, but they require knowing exactly where to aim, exactly which bug to target, and the patience to whittle down its health without being able to see it. Each of these methods represents a significant effort on the player's part, a conscious choice to help Solaire even when the game doesn't explicitly ask you to, even when doing so requires resources and time that could be spent elsewhere. It's a test of how much you've come to care about this character, how much his cooperation and friendship have meant to you. When you successfully prevent Solaire from encountering the sunlight maggot, something interesting happens. After you defeat the centipede demon and progress into Lost Izalith, you can find Solaire again near the shortcut door. But he's not standing this time. He's sitting on the ground, his posture one of defeat, of exhaustion. His dialogue in this state is perhaps even more heartbreaking than his maddened ravings with the maggot. "Was it all a lie?" he asks. "Have I done this all for nothing? Oh, my dear son, what now? What should I do?" He's safe from the parasite, saved from madness and death, but he's been confronted with the emptiness of his quest. He's searched everywhere, followed every lead, pursued his dream with unwavering dedication, and found nothing. The son he sought doesn't exist, or if it does, it's not something he can find in Lordran, not something he can grasp and make his own. This is Solaire at his lowest point, stripped of the false hope the sunlight maggot would have provided, but also stripped of the delusion. He's facing the truth of his situation. His quest might be impossible. His sacrifice in becoming undead might have been for nothing, and the purpose that sustained him through countless trials has proven to be a mirage. But here, in this moment of deepest despair, something remarkable happens. Solaire doesn't go hollow. Despite everything, despite the failure of his quest and the weight of disappointed hope, he maintains his sense of self. He continues to exist, continues to persist, because perhaps the quest itself was never really about finding some external sun. Perhaps it was always about maintaining that internal light, that spark of hope and humanity, in the face of overwhelming darkness. The weight of others' quests, there's an aspect of Solaire's character that reveals important dimensions of his philosophy and his tragedy. How he relates to your quest, the player's journey, the story you're living through Dark Souls. This relationship is complex and illuminating. Solaire never asks you to help him find his son. Despite traveling with you, cooperating with you, sharing his story and his struggles, he never makes his quest your responsibility. He doesn't request that you search for leads, doesn't ask you to keep an eye out for sons, doesn't try to recruit you to his cause. His quest is his own, and he maintains ownership of it even while offering you assistance with yours. This is remarkable restraint and reveals an important aspect of his character. Solaire understands that everyone in Lordran is pursuing their own quest, their own purpose, their own reason for continuing to exist as undead rather than going hollow. He respects your agency, your autonomy, your right to pursue your own goals without being burdened by his. When he offers to help you fight bosses, he's not doing it to earn your reciprocal help with his quest. He's doing it because helping is intrinsically valuable to him, because cooperation itself has meaning, because being a source of light and support for others is part of who he is and what he values. There's no quid pro quo, no transaction, no expectation of repayment. This generosity of spirit is rare in Lordran. Most NPCs, when they help you, have some agenda, some goal they're pursuing that your cooperation advances. But Solaire helps simply to help, cooperates simply because cooperation is good, offers assistance because offering assistance is its own reward. Yet there's a subtle tragedy in this too. Solaire is so busy helping others, so focused on being a source of support and light, that he neglects to ask for the help he clearly needs. By the time you encounter him in Lost Izalith, he's nearly broken by his fruitless search, yet he never asked you to join him in that search, never invited you to help bear the burden of his impossible quest. The fact that you can save Solaire without his knowledge adds another layer to this. When you kill the sunlight maggot through that shortcut door, Solaire never knows you did it. He doesn't know that you sacrificed 30 humanity to join a covenant he's never heard of, opened a door he didn't know existed, and killed a bug that would have destroyed him. You save him in secret, and he never gets to thank you for it. This creates a beautiful asymmetry in your relationship. Solaire helps you openly, standing beside you in battle, his cooperation visible and acknowledged. You help him invisibly, changing his fate without him ever knowing the role you played. It's the ultimate act of the cooperation he values so highly, performed without recognition or reward. The final mystery, if you continue to the end of the game with Solaire saved, you can summon him for the final boss fight against Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. His summon sign appears outside the kiln of the first flame, golden as always, offering one last chance at jolly cooperation. And when summoned, Solaire fights alongside you against the god he once venerated, the Lord of Sunlight whose glory he sought to emulate. There's something profoundly moving about this. Solaire, who sought his own sun, who wanted to be as incandescent as that celestial body, helps you defeat the being most associated with the sun in this entire world. He doesn't do it out of hatred or revenge. He does it because you asked for his help, because cooperation, friendship, and mutual support have always been more important to him than abstract worship of distant divinity. What happens to Solaire after you defeat Gwyn is deliberately left ambiguous. The game doesn't provide a clear answer, but Hidetaka Miyazaki, the game's director, has offered some insight. According to Miyazaki, if you save Solaire and he helps you defeat Gwyn, this represents the happiest ending for the character. In this outcome, Solaire links the fire in his own world, finally finding his sun by becoming the sun, sacrificing himself to keep the age of fire burning just a little while longer. Think about what this means. Solaire sought to be grossly incandescent, to be like the sun itself, a source of light and warmth. By linking the fire, he achieves exactly this. He becomes a source of light, sustaining the age, providing illumination in the darkness, serving as a beacon for others to follow. He doesn't find a sun to worship or emulate. He becomes the sun, fulfills his dream through ultimate sacrifice. But this ending, which Miyazaki describes as the happiest available to Solaire, is still fundamentally tragic. To achieve his goal, Solaire must burn away completely, must sacrifice everything he is to keep the fire going for just a little while longer, postponing the inevitable darkness rather than truly conquering it. The Age of Fire cannot last forever, no matter how many undead throw themselves into the flame. Solaire's sacrifice, like all such sacrifices in Dark Souls, is ultimately futile in the grand scheme of things. Yet there's a kind of beauty in this futility, a nobility in choosing to be a light in the darkness even when you know that darkness will eventually win. Solaire's quest to find his son was perhaps always meant to end this way, with him becoming the very thing he sought, if only for a brief, brilliant moment before being consumed entirely. The legacy of the sun, the impact of Solaire on gaming culture cannot be overstated. His praise the sun gesture, arms raised to the sky in a Y shape, palms open to the celestial body above, has become one of the most recognizable poses in gaming. Players perform it ironically, seriously, in celebration, in commemoration. It's been referenced in countless games, shows, and media properties. The gesture transcends its original context, becoming a universal symbol of hope, perseverance, and refusing to give up even when the odds are overwhelming. In Dark Souls 2, the Warriors of Sunlight Covenant returns under a new name, Heirs of the Sun. The Covenant rewards are items associated with Solaire from the first game, including his straight sword. The description of these items suggests that Solaire has become a legendary figure, his story passed down and celebrated by those who continue his mission of cooperation and mutual support. The painted sun that Solaire created, crude but earnest, becomes the official symbol of the Covenant. Dark Souls 3 brings back the Warriors of Sunlight under their original name, and the Covenant continues to embody the principles Solaire represented. When you use the Covenant's items or perform the Praise the Sun gesture in that game, you're participating in a tradition that Solaire helped establish, carrying forward his legacy of cooperation in the face of overwhelming darkness. The gesture itself was actually conceived before Solaire as a character. Miyazaki has stated in interviews that the Praise the Sun pose appeared in Demon's Souls as a rare holy gesture used when casting miracles while wearing the Ring of Sincere Prayer. When creating Dark Souls, he knew he wanted to use it more prominently, and when designing Solaire and the Warriors of Sunlight, he found the perfect application. But the gesture didn't achieve its iconic status until players embraced it, made it their own, turned it into something that transcends its mechanical function in the game. Players praised the sun after difficult victories, before impossible challenges, in moments of joy and moments of despair. The gesture has been recreated in countless screenshots, artworks, and real-life photos. It's become a way for Dark Souls players to recognize each other, to share in the experience of having survived this brutal, beautiful game. The character has become larger than the game that created him, a symbol that resonates with people even if they've never played Dark Souls. There's something universal about Solaire's struggle, something that speaks to the human condition in a way that transcends medium and genre. He represents the person who maintains hope when hope seems foolish, who helps others even when no help seems available, who pursues meaning in a seemingly meaningless world. Game journalists and critics have repeatedly named Solaire as one of the best NPCs in gaming history. Destructoid called him the embodiment of selfless camaraderie and generosity, and batshit crazy in the same breath, capturing the beautiful contradiction of his character. Eurogamer labeled him a total badass. GamesRadar Plus included the mission to save Solaire in their list of the 20 most unique side quests in video game history, stating that if there ever was an NPC worth saving, it would be him. These accolades aren't just about mechanical design or voice acting quality, though both are excellent. They're about how Solaire makes players feel. In a game designed to be lonely, harsh, and unforgiving, he offers connection. In a world where trust is often betrayed, he remains steadfastly loyal. In an experience that can feel hopeless, he maintains hope long past the point where any reasonable person would give up. Solaire's influence extends beyond the Souls series too. He appears as an amiibo figure for Dark Souls Remastered on the Nintendo Switch, allowing players to perform the praise the sun gesture without meeting the normal faith requirements. Other games have referenced him. Borderlands 2 features a character called Solitaire sitting by a bonfire in a clear homage. World of Warcraft includes a follower named Solaire of Astora, who gives players a bonfire toy if they perform the tired emote. And numerous indie games have included their own versions of the sun-praising warrior. The man behind the sun understanding why Solaire resonates so powerfully requires looking beyond the specifics of his story to what he represents thematically. Dark Souls is a game about struggle, about perseverance in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Every player who picks up the game will die, repeatedly, to enemies and traps and bosses and simple missteps. The game is designed to punish, to test, to push players to their limits and beyond. In this context, Solaire represents an alternative philosophy, a different approach to confronting the darkness. Where the game itself is harsh and unforgiving, Solaire offers cooperation and support. Where other NPCs are suspicious, hostile, or out for themselves, Solaire genuinely wants to help. He's not naive about the world's cruelty. His dialogue makes clear that he understands the difficulty of the journey, but he chooses kindness anyway, chooses hope anyway, chooses to be a positive force in a negative world. This makes him, in many ways, the most subversive character in the game. Dark Souls teaches players to be cautious, to trust no one, to expect betrayal around every corner. Many NPC questlines end in tragedy or treachery. The world itself seems designed to grind down any trace of hope or humanity. Yet Solaire exists in defiance of all this, maintaining his cheerful demeanor and cooperative spirit despite every reason to give it up. His quest for his own son can be read as a quest for authentic purpose in an inauthentic world. Everything in Lordran is deceptive to some degree. Guinevere is an illusion. Frampt and Cod both claim to have your best interests at heart while manipulating you for their own ends. The chosen undead prophecy itself might be a fabrication designed to trick undead into linking the fire. In a world of lies and half-truths, Solaire seeks something genuine, something real, something that belongs to him and cannot be taken away or revealed as false. The fact that he never finds this doesn't diminish the nobility of the quest. If anything, it makes it more meaningful. Solaire continues to search, continues to hope, continues to help others, even when he starts to doubt, even when he begins to suspect that his quest might be impossible. He doesn't give up and go hollow. He doesn't turn bitter or cynical. He maintains his core self in the face of mounting evidence that his dream might be unachievable. This is why players connect with him so strongly. Solaire's struggle is, in miniature, the player's own struggle. The player seeks to complete an impossible game, to overcome challenges that seem designed to be insurmountable, to find meaning and accomplishment in an experience built around failure and repetition. Solaire seeks his son, knowing it might not exist, knowing the search might destroy him, but unable to give up because the quest itself has become his reason for being. When you save Solaire, when you go out of your way to prevent his encounter with the sunlight maggot, you're not just completing a side quest. You're affirming that hope has value, that effort matters, that caring about someone enough to help them is worthwhile, even when the game doesn't reward you for it. You're choosing to be like Solaire, to offer cooperation and support even when it would be easier to let events unfold as the game intends. And when you summon him for the final battle against Gwyn, when you see that golden sign appear outside the kiln of the first flame, you're engaging in one last act of jolly cooperation with a character who has defined what cooperation means in this game. Solaire helps you defeat the god of sunlight, the being whose legacy he sought to emulate, because you asked for his help. Because in the end, friendship and mutual support proved more important than abstract quests for divine significance. Why he never found his son, the central tragedy of Solaire's story, is that his quest was always impossible. Not because the son he sought didn't exist, but because the nature of Dark Souls' world makes such quests fundamentally unachievable. The game takes place during the end of the Age of Fire, a time when the first flame is fading and the world is slowly dying. Everything in Lordran is in decay, from the crumbling architecture to the hollowing undead to the failing gods themselves. In this context, Solaire's search for his own son represents a quest for purpose and meaning in a world where such things are becoming increasingly scarce. The sun he sees in the sky is itself a kind of lie, or at least a deception. If you defeat Guinevere in Aenir Londo, revealing her to be an illusion created by Gwyndolin, the veil is lifted and you see Aenir Londo as it truly is: dark, abandoned, long since fallen from its former glory. The sun that Solaire gazed at so adoringly was, in some sense, as false as the sunlight maggot that would eventually claim him. The irony cuts deeper when you consider what the sun represents in Dark Souls mythology. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, created the Age of Fire by linking the first flame, but this was ultimately an act of desperation to postpone the inevitable Age of Dark. The sun, the light, the fire, all of these are not eternal truths but temporary reprieves from the natural order. Solaire worships something that was always meant to end, seeks to become part of something that cannot last. His equipment descriptions tell us that his incredible prowess came from rigorous training alone, that his armor and weapons had no special properties. This means that whatever son Solaire sought, it wasn't something that could be found in magical artifacts or divine blessings. It had to come from within, had to be something he created or discovered through his own efforts and understanding. But Dark Souls is a world where self-made purpose struggles to survive. The undead who maintain their sense of self, who refuse to go hollow, are the ones who hold onto some driving goal or mission. Solaire's mission was to find something that may not have existed to find. Each location he visits and fails to find his son represents not just a dead end in his literal search, but a philosophical rejection of different approaches to his quest. Aenir Londo teaches him that divine power alone won't provide what he seeks. The city of the gods, bathed in eternal sunlight, should have been the answer. But that sunlight is as illusory as the goddess Guinevere herself. The sunlight altar shows him that broken traditions and forgotten gods offer no answers. Lost Izalith demonstrates the danger of trying to forcibly create what should occur naturally. The Witch of Izalith attempted to recreate the first flame and instead birthed demons and chaos, transforming herself into the bed of chaos. The sunlight maggot represents a cruel mockery of his quest. Here, finally, is something that produces light that could be called a sun in the most literal sense. It emanates brightness, pushes back the darkness, provides illumination where there was none. But it's a parasite, a loathsome thing that survives by attaching to a host and slowly consuming them. It gives light while taking everything else, offers the illusion of achievement while destroying the person who sought it. This is why the sunlight maggot outcome is so devastating. Solaire doesn't find his son and live happily ever after. He finds something that looks like his son, accepts it as such in his desperation and mounting despair, and is destroyed by it. The game is saying something profound here about the danger of false hope, of accepting counterfeits when the genuine article proves impossible to obtain. The truth is that Solaire never finds his son because the son he sought was always a metaphor for something that cannot be found, only created, and the world of Dark Souls is not conducive to such creation. He wanted significance, purpose, the ability to be a source of light and warmth for others. And in his cooperation, in his willingness to help, in his refusal to let the darkness extinguish his optimism even when everyone around him succumbed to despair, he was already that son. He just couldn't see it himself. This is the ultimate tragedy of Solaire's character. He possessed what he sought but didn't recognize it because it didn't match his expectations. He was already grossly incandescent in the way that mattered most, in his spirit and his actions and his unwavering dedication to helping others. but because it wasn't the literal, physical transformation he envisioned, because he couldn't look at himself and see sunlight emanating from his being, he continued to search for something he already embodied. Every golden summon sign, every sunlight medal exchanged, every moment of jolly cooperation was Solaire being the sun he sought. When players summoned him and felt relief at his presence, when they overcame challenges that seemed insurmountable with his help, when they experienced the warmth of genuine cooperation in a cold and hostile world, they were experiencing the sun Solaire had become. But he was looking outward for something that existed within, searching the world for a treasure he carried in his own heart. The final praise if you've made it this far in our exploration of Solaire's character and story. I hope you found the same depth and meaning in his arc that so many players have discovered over the years. Before we part ways, if you found value in this deep dive, if it gave you new appreciation for this tragic, beautiful character, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. These long-form explorations of game lore and narrative take time and care to create, and your support makes them possible. Solaire of Astora remains, more than a decade after Dark Souls first released, one of gaming's most beloved characters. He's been celebrated, mourned, memed, and mythologized. His praise, the sun gesture, has become a universal symbol within gaming culture. His story has touched millions of players, each finding their own meaning in his quest and his fate. The reason for this enduring impact comes down to the fundamental humanity of his character. Solaire isn't special because he's particularly powerful or blessed by the gods or chosen by prophecy. He's special because he chooses to be kind in a cruel world, to maintain hope in the face of despair, to help others when he could focus solely on his own quest. He's special because he's what we all wish we could be. Someone who doesn't let the darkness extinguish their inner light. His failure to find his sun doesn't diminish him. If anything, it makes him more relatable, more real, more meaningful. We all search for purpose, for significance, for our own sun. We all face the possibility that our quests might be impossible, that our dreams might remain forever out of reach. What matters is whether we continue searching anyway, whether we maintain our humanity and our hope even when success seems impossible. The crestfallen warrior, another character you meet early in the game, represents the alternative. He sits by the bonfire in Firelink Shrine, having given up on his own quest, resigned to waiting and watching as others try and fail. He's not hostile, not actively harmful, but he's hollow in spirit if not yet in body. He's lost his purpose and accepted that loss, settling into comfortable despair rather than pursuing uncomfortable hope. Solaire could have become this. His quest is equally impossible, his chances of success equally nil. By all rights, he should have given up long before you meet him, should have settled into the same defeated acceptance that characterizes the crestfallen warrior. But he doesn't. He maintains his optimism, his drive, his belief that the next location might hold the answer he seeks. Where the crestfallen warrior concluded the journey was meaningless, Solaire concludes that the meaning lies in the journey itself, in the cooperation and connections made along the way. This is perhaps the most important distinction between them. Not that one succeeded and one failed, but that one chose to keep trying while the other chose to stop. Solaire never found his sun, but he became one anyway, at least for those of us who journeyed with him through Lordran. He brought light to a dark game, warmth to a cold world, cooperation to an experience designed around isolation. He stood before the literal sun and wished to be as incandescent, never realizing that he already shone just as bright, that his light came not from divine blessing but from the choices he made and the person he chose to be. In the end, perhaps that's the real lesson of Solaire's story. The sun we seek, the purpose we chase, the meaning we hope to find, it doesn't come from external sources or divine gifts or magical transformations. It comes from within, from the choices we make, from the values we uphold, from the light we choose to carry even when surrounded by darkness. His name itself provides a final layer of meaning. Solaire is the French word for solar, for pertaining to the sun. His entire identity is wrapped up in his quest. He is solar by definition, by name, by nature. Yet he spent his entire existence searching for what he already was, trying to find externally what was embedded in his very being. The answer was written in his name, spoken every time someone addressed him, yet he never recognized it. Solaire of Astora never found his sun. But in searching for it, in refusing to give up, in maintaining his kindness and cooperation and hope, he became exactly what he sought to be. He was grossly incandescent all along. He just didn't know it. And perhaps that's the greatest tragedy of all. Not that his quest was impossible, but that he succeeded without realizing it, that the light he carried within himself was always the sun he sought, that the answer to his question was staring back at him every time he looked at his own reflection, if only he'd had eyes to see it. Every time he helped another undead, every time his golden summon sign appeared, every time he shared his philosophy of jolly cooperation, he was manifesting the very incandescence he sought. The irony is almost unbearable. He wanted to be a sun, to provide light and warmth to others, and he did exactly that. For countless players across countless playthroughs, Solaire was and is a beacon of hope, a source of strength, a reminder that even in the darkest worlds, kindness and cooperation still matter. He achieved his dream without knowing it, became what he sought to be without recognizing his own success. Perhaps this is why his story resonates so deeply. We've all searched for something while failing to recognize we already possess it. We've all looked outward for validation, purpose, or meaning that existed within us all along. Solaire's tragedy is universal because his blindness to his own light reflects our own inability to see the value we bring to the world. Praise the sun, Solaire. Wherever you are, in whatever world your journey took you, know that your light reached us. Know that your cooperation meant something. Know that you were, and remain, as incandescent as any sun that ever burned in the sky. The darkness will come eventually. The fire will fade. The age of dark will dawn, no matter how many souls throw themselves into the flame to postpone it. But for a brief, brilliant moment, you were the sun. And that moment, however fleeting, will be remembered as long as people continue to journey through Lordran, continue to praise the sun, continue to engage in jolly cooperation. Your painted sun, crude and powerless though it may be, has inspired millions. Your laughter in the face of doubt has given hope to those who felt none. Your willingness to help without expectation of reward has shown players that kindness still has value even in the cruelest worlds. You sought to be grossly incandescent, and in ways you never imagined, in ways that transcend the literal transformation you envisioned, you succeeded beyond measure. Thank you for being our sun, Solaire. Thank you for the light,